Good morning. We are starting Unit 2, Week 3. So you're going to have some new vocab words I'm going to introduce you to, spelling words, stories, and some new grammar concepts that we're going to be going over. So make sure you watch this video and follow along. I might have to make 2 videos. It depends how long this lesson is. So just follow up with the second one. If so, you'll also have some follow-up activities to practice when you are done watching this video. So the concept of our unit this week is government. So what does the government mean? I want you to think about this. I'm sure you've heard a lot of things about the election. In November, we had an election for presidency, so this should be very easy to relate to. I'm sure you've heard some things about it. So our essential question, what I want you to be thinking about today is how do people make government work? Our voices count. So we have this picture of this young girl. She is voting for something and says the ballot box. So they could be voting for a class president, they could be voting for a school choice, something like that. So I want you to keep this in mind. During our live session, we'll talk a little bit more about government, but this is just where we are going with our lesson today. So first, I am going to introduce some vocabulary to you, just so we can get started, and then we will read our story after this. So we have announced. Announce, Miss Parker announced the winner of the contest. What does it mean to announce? It means that you are told something. We have candidates. Candidates are people who seek an office or honor. Let's look at our example. Andrew is one of the 4 candidates for class president. The last 2 candidates in our presidential election were Joe Biden and Donald Trump. They were candidates. They were the 2 people that were running for office. Next, we have convince. To convince is to cause someone to believe or do something. Let's look at our example. Julia's mother tried to convince her to play soccer. So someone is trying to make you do something that they want you to do. Decisions. When you make a decision, you make a choice. Nick made 2 decisions about what to eat for breakfast. So a choice to make. Elect. To elect is to choose someone by voting. The students voted to elect a new class president. In November, our United States, or the people in the United States, elected Joe Biden to be our president. Estimate. To estimate is to guess an amount. You probably have done this in math class. Sam tried to estimate or guess the number of coins he had in this class. Government. Government is the people who guide a city, state, or country. Our government makes laws. We make laws to protect people. Independent. If you are independent, you can do things on your own. You can do things by yourself. It's good to be independent and do things on your own. Okay, so that's just a little introduction and explanation about our words this week. This is why I was going to read this book to you called The Race for Presidency by Mary Atkinson. And if this is our former president, who? Barack Obama and his wife Michelle Obama, and this is at his inauguration when he was being confirmed to the United States that he was going to be president. Oops. Introduction. Have you ever voted for a class president? If so, you probably know that students choose between 2 or more classmates. These people are the candidates. They want people to vote for them. They hang up posters, they give speeches, they promise to do good things if they win. On election day, the one with the most votes wins. The elections for the presidents of the United States are a bit like class elections, but they take much more time. Presidential elections are held every 4 years. The race for the presidency starts more than a year before the election. It says Kelly Kaw was a 12th grade class president when she introduced President Obama before he gave a speech in 2010. Who can be president? So here are some things. If you want to be president, here are some requirements or some things that you have to be before you are able to run. So you have to be at least 35 years old, you have to be born in the United States, and you have to have lived in the United States for 14 or more years. Theodore Roosevelt, who is this guy right here, was only 42 when he became president. Chapter 1, the primary campaign. The race for the presidency starts with special elections. These are called primary elections. Most candidates are part of a political party in the United States. The 2 main parties are the Democrats and the Republicans. Voters choose candidates for each party to go on to the general election. Some candidates stay independent. They do not belong to a party. The two main parties, we have the Democratic Party has been around since 1828. It aims to give all workers equal opportunities and justice. The Republican Party was started in 1854. The first Republicans were against slavery. Today, the party aims to protect people's rights. Most states have a primary election to pick the Republican candidate and Democratic candidate they like. A few states don't hold primaries. The parties choose their candidates at a meeting called a caucus. Democratic candidate Hillary Clinton ran for president in 2008 and 2016. Here she is meeting with people outside of polling place in 2008. During the primaries, the candidates try to convince people in their parties to vote for them. They meet voters and talk about what they would like to do as president. Voters read newspapers and watch TV to figure out whom to vote for. Voters go to polls place to cast their vote. The two main parties each hold meetings after the primaries. These meetings are called conventions. Each party announces a candidate for president and vice president. There are speeches and parties. They talk about their ideas and they plan their campaign. The candidates for president and vice president are chosen at conventions. So to be president, it is a very, very long process and it takes several years for you to be able to go through all of the speeches and campaigning and decisions that are made so that you can run for president. So it is a very long process. We're going to read chapter 2. I'm going to stop after chapter 2 and then I will finish reading this story to you tomorrow. Chapter 2, the general election. After the conventions, the final campaigns begin. The Republican candidate and the Democratic candidate travel around the country. They want to convince as many people as they can to vote for them. Many people work for each campaign. They plan events and raise money. George W. Bush meets with supporters during the 2000 campaign for president. So if you've seen this, they have campaigns, they meet people, they have people get together in a large area so they can listen to their speeches. To win the election, the candidates need to know what kind of government people want. Candidates talk to people to find out their problems. They do research, they ask questions, and collect answers. Campaigns in the past. Candidates in the past couldn't zip across the country in planes or talk on television. They got noticed in other ways. Cross-country train journeys, known as whistle-stop tours, were popular. Candidates make promises about what they will do. Reporters and voters ask the candidates hard questions. They want to find out if the candidates' ideas will work. They want to know if there will be any problems if they are elected or if they elect a candidate. Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump had 3 debates before the 2016 election to communicate their ideas to voters. And then in this picture right here, we have Republican candidate Richard M. Nixon on the left right here, and Democratic candidate John F. Kennedy is right here, debated on TV in 1960. Debates are a good way to find out about candidates. The two candidates explain their own policies. They find out mistakes in other policies. The debates are often shown on TV. They can be excited to watch, and most importantly, they help voters make a decision about how to vote. So during presidential debates or any debates, each party or each candidate is given a topic to talk about, and then each person gets to talk about their views about it, what they think about it, how they think they can help to make it better. So I'm going to stop here for today. Tomorrow I will finish reading this book to you because it is a little long. So I also would like to go over grammar now. Okay, so let's look at the mistakes in this sentence just to review our grammar. It says Mrs. Diaz bought paintbrushes and 2 gallons of white paint. She painted the fence. Okay, so I see some errors. Last week we learned about singular and plural nouns, so I want you to keep that in mind. There are some changes that we need to make. So first of all, Mrs. Diaz, in the past we've learned about proper nouns. Mrs. Diaz is a specific person, so we need to make her last name capital. So we're going to change this D to a capital D. Bought paintbrushes and 2 gallons of paint, white paint. Okay, paintbrushes. We need to put an E there because it has the SH, which means when we're doing plural nouns, sorry, it's kind of an upside down E. So remember, plural nouns, SH, CH, X, those all have ES as our ending when making them plural. And 2 gallon of white paint. Okay, if we have 2, that means there's more than 1, so we need to make this gallons, for a plural noun. Let's look at our last sentence. She painted the fence. She painted the fence. Okay, what do we need at the end of a sentence? Always, always, always. Punctuation. So we need to put a period there because it is a statement. It is telling us something. That's supposed to be a period. Okay, the next thing I want to go over is your spelling words for this week. So you only have 10 spelling words this week. Mrs. Bliley was so nice and cut them in half. This week we are working with silent letters. So they are the sneaky spellings. We have rap. So I want you to keep this in mind. Before I even go over this, I want to point this out. Silent letters. So they are either this week a W or an R in front of a word that does not sound like it. So let's look at rap, like a turkey wrap. That sounds delicious. It sounds like RAP, but it has a silent W in front of it. Number 2, we have wrist. If we listen to the word wrist, your wrist, it just sounds like RISTS, but there's actually a silent W in front of it. Wrote. I wrote a letter to my friend. Sneaky W. Wreck. I wrecked my car. Sneaky W. Write. I can write my name. Sneaky W. Wreath. I put a Christmas wreath on my front door. Sneaky W. Now let's look at the sneaky Ks. Knit. I can knit a blanket. K in front of it. Knife. I cut my steak with a knife. Sneaky, sneaky, sneaky K. Knight, like a knight in shining armor in a storybook, has a sneaky K. And lastly, knock. That has a sneaky K also. So these are your 10 spelling words for the week. Remember, there are sneaky silent letters in front. I would like you to do the follow-up activities that are attached to this lesson. Have a wonderful day, and please visit me at 11 o'clock at our individual time. Have a wonderful day.